I'm Terry, this is Scott, and we are at New York Comic Con outside Madison Square Garden, where, Scott, you just saw the world premiere of the Pacific Rim Uprising trailer. Now, what did you think of this first look at the new movie?
I think it looks really cool, actually. It looks a lot more cartoony than the Guillermo del Toro original film, though, I think, which is an interesting direction to take things. You kind of have to get your head around it a little bit, I think. The original was much more sort of tragic, epic in a way. This feels like giant robots in the Power Rangers style or something like that.
Yeah, I agree. There's this one shot in the trailer where you see like all the Jaeger lined up and they all have these different abilities. And it felt a little Voltron, it felt a little Power Rangers. But to your point about the first movie being a lot more serious, I almost think that this is maybe the right shift for the franchise. The first one wasn't a huge box office hit, so maybe going for a little bit of a lighter tone is the right direction for it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's in a way surprising that we're even getting a sequel. There was a lot of on and off again about this. Guillermo was going to make it at one point, and then he wasn't, and then it kind of came out of nowhere, this sequel. So the fact that it's even happening says a lot. So yeah, I mean, they needed to do something to freshen it up. And look, we have Jaegers who have plasma swords. There's one with a whip, one with they called it a ball of death in the panel. So like, it's basically a big mace and chain type thing. So they're having fun with it, and that's cool. And also they have John Boyega, who is a huge Pacific Rim fan apparently, and so now he's got two franchises, Star Wars and Pacific Rim. So if you want to make your franchise last and turn into a third and a fourth movie and a TV show and all the rest of it, having a guy who's in Star Wars is maybe the right way to go too.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is like the first Pacific Rim was so clearly inspired by anime and Godzilla and all these Japanese styles of big monsters fighting big robots that clearly inspired Guillermo. But I think the shift to something that's a little bit more Power Rangers or Voltron is the right move. And you actually said that the director, Stephen DeKnight, shouted out a couple specific references and influences as well.
Yeah, he did. He said he grew up watching Ultraman, which is this like 1960s Japanese robot thing. He mentioned all the Godzilla movies, a bunch of like the sources from like old school Japanese kaiju movies. So he's definitely into that stuff, and it sounds like that's what he wants to go for. And he's definitely kind of just having fun with it all. He came out on stage dressed as the Idris Elba character from the first film with the big generals, like military regalia with like medals, like for all that Jaeger fighting he's done, I guess. So yeah, I mean, he seems to really love that more pulpy sort of approach to this kind of tale, and he's embracing it all the way, it seems.
Yeah, I almost want to wonder if John Boyega was like, Dad, because he's playing Idris Elba's character's son. You did get to see, as you mentioned, you described, you got to see this whole panel. Is there anything else that you saw that people at home would not have seen about Pacific Rim Uprising that has you either really excited or potentially nervous about the movie?
Well, they did mention that they do want to franchise it out. They want to make a bunch of these if they can. So that's not a surprise. It's a big Hollywood thing, of course. So the question remains to be seen if they do it, and if they do, will it be like this one is really kind of a new cast. Most of the cast from the original is not back for this one. It takes place 10 years later. As you said, Boyega plays Idris Elba's son. So will the third movie, if there is one, will that be a whole new cast? They want to explore the bigger universe, they said. So I think that's one of the things that's interesting about it. But of course, we are far ways off from that too.
Exactly. Well, Scott, thank you so much for your reporting. Pacific Rim Uprising isn't out until 2018, but we'll have plenty of coverage here at IGN. And for all things New York Comic Con, we're cranking out cosplay coverage, toy coverage. Make sure to keep it here on IGN.